What's up, guys? So welcome to the first ever Gear Talks. All day today, I've been working on the storyline notes for Anvil Gate, the third book of Gears of War. The reason why I'm taking my time with this is because I forgot a lot of what happened in the book because it's taken me it's been such a long time since I read it. I've always wanted to do a talks series for Gears of War. I think I could talk about a lot of stuff when it comes to Gears of War because I've read all the books, I've read all the comics, I played all the games, so I know a lot about Gears. And since Gears of War Judgment is coming out tomorrow, the 19th, I thought, why don't I just start it and do the first episode about Damon Baird and then one on Cole and maybe one on the other characters that are going to be coming out, although that probably won't be very long because I don't know too much about them yet since they're new characters. But I thought I should probably talk about the Gorazny, the UIR, because one of the characters, Paddock, is from the UIR. He's not from the COG. So yeah, I might be doing that later on. So as you know, Baird is the only blonde member of Delta Squad in the games. He's been in every Gears of War game. Gears of War 1, 2, 3, and now Judgment, who he's pretty much the protagonist. Although Judgment is going to have a pretty cool system where you could play as each character because each character has a specific role in the story, so that's going to be cool. But it seems like Baird is kind of taking the place of Marcus in this game, which is awesome because Baird is one of my favorite characters. I love Baird. I think he's so interesting, although he is a jerk. And I think if I knew him in real life, I'd probably be slapping him all over the place. But he's absolutely hilarious. Now, before any of you ask me what the S stands for in his middle name, I don't know. I couldn't find it on the internet, and I don't remember it ever being mentioned in the books, in the comics, or in the games. So I think it's just one of those mysteries that we probably will never find out about. If any of you guys know what his middle name is, just let me know in the comments. You find out a lot about him in Jacinto's Remnant. When it comes to his younger days, when he had just enlisted in the COG. Every book has two aspects to the storyline. It pretty much has like two storylines. One of them takes place in the present, and the other one takes place in the past, like way back then. And for this one, Jacinto's Remnant, it is about Cole and when he meets Baird. And if you want to know more about Baird in the present, he's in all of the books in the present except for the Slab, the 5th book. But he's in all of them, and this one, he's mostly in this one, though. You find out a lot about Baird in Anvil Gate for the present. And every book starts with a character. In the prologue, every book starts with a character talking in first person, and for this book, it's Baird. So you kind of get to slip into his shoes for just the prologue, which is pretty interesting. He was born into a very rich family. His father was, I don't remember if he was like a judge or a lawyer or something, but it had to do with some kind of position in the law. And ever since Baird was a little kid, he always loved mechanics. He always loved machines, robots. He would take things apart and build them again and build robots and stuff like that. So he always wanted to be an engineer / mechanic. And his parents were disappointed in that. They were kind of disgusted that he wanted to be an engineer or a mechanic given their high place in society. So what his parents told him was that if he didn't enlist in the army, they would not give him his inheritance. So they would completely just pretty much disown him. So he found himself forced to join the COG, and he joined the COG on E-Day, which is Emergence Day, which is pretty much the day that the Locusts attacked. So he was always bitter about this. You could tell that he absolutely hated his parents, the way he talks about them. He calls them names. They ended up dying in the Locust Wars, so he it seems almost like he was happy about it. One thing about Baird is that he could be extremely offensive, and the things that he says really makes him seem like a jerk, like a guy that really doesn't care about anything, even though sometimes that's just like a mechanism that he uses to protect himself and to kind of for him to slip away from from all the crap that's going on. A lot of times that's really the way that he is. Like he in the comics, in one of the comics that's called Baron, he says some things that pretty much make him seem like he is chauvinistic and sexist. The way he talks to women, he doesn't think women should be in the cog, and he thinks that they should just be pretty much just making babies. So yeah, he says some pretty bad stuff to some women in that comic. He has offended Marcus bad, where he's talking smack about his mom. He's gotten punched out by Bernadette Mataki. For those of you that haven't read the books, she's that older lady that was introduced in Gears of War 3 that's hanging out with Hoffman. They meet her in the books, and they meet her in this book, the very first book, in the present. She's awesome. She's in all the books, I believe. Her and Baird have this like love-hate relationship where she's so much older than him. He calls her Granny. She calls him Blondie. Eventually, Baird grows to kind of be fond of her. Sees her as like almost a grandma type of thing, although she's not really grandma status because she's this hardcore gear. He gets punched out by her because he's talking crap about Marcus's mom. He has said about a lot of things that really hurt people, and he doesn't really care. A lot of times he doesn't care, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's just the way he is. He's very sarcastic, very cynical, very blunt. He tries to separate himself. Like I said, he tries not to care because they are constantly losing people. So the less he cares, the less it hurts him, or the less it affects him. It says in the books that he's pretty much the only gear that has a restful night, that actually sleeps well at night. He's the only one that doesn't have nightmares because of this attitude that he has. He does not like people, and a lot of times he says it's because he's way too smart and other people aren't as smart as he is, so he can't relate to them. He can't talk to them because they don't understand him. He feels superior when it comes to his mind, and he is, in a lot of cases, he is like genius level. He prefers the company of robots. He prefers machines. He prefers to be working on mechanical things instead of like talking to people, because he just finds them annoying. The only person that he, of course, grows to absolutely love, and the only person he truly could say is his best friend, is Cole. When Baird and Cole met, they met like almost immediately after E-Day had struck, when Baird joined the COG. This flashback of when Cole meets Baird is in Jacinto's Remnant in the book, in the flashback. So if you want to read that, what it was actually like and what happened, it's a pretty funny scene. It's cool. You get to really feel the connection between Baird and Cole since the beginning. So they pretty much meet about a month after E-Day. Baird was assigned to a company called Bravo Company. He was in the bathroom, and this group of guys that were also in the COG just walk in and they pick a fight with Baird. And the reason why they picked a fight with Baird was because one of the guys was pissed off at his father, that Baird's father had made a. This is why I say that he was in some kind of law position, because Baird's father had given a sentence to somebody that this guy, I guess, was affiliated with, and they didn't like the sentence that Baird's father had given this person. So they had a beef with the Baird family, so they take it out on Baird, on Damon Baird. So they start beating him up. They put his head in the toilet, and Baird fights back. But it's like 1 against 3, I think it was. And then Cole comes and stops the fight, and they look at him, and he's this huge dude and a thrash ball player. So they're like, and they just leave. And Baird, kind of thanks Cole, but they eventually end up going on a mission together, which is where you find out that pretty much all of the main characters, the main gears, Marcus, Dom, Baird, and Cole, don't like to wear their gear helmets. And in this scene, Baird is like twirling around his helmet, and his superior, the superior officer comes, and he's like, put the helmet on. And he puts the helmet on, and when he leaves, he takes it off and replaces it with his goggles. So Baird's been wearing the goggles for a long time, and a lot of people have asked, what are the goggles for? They're for melding. He puts them on when he starts to work on something, with a what are they called? Those melding things, the melders, so the sparks don't go into his eye. I forgot what they're called. The first thing that Baird realized about Cole was that Baird wasn't getting under Cole's skin like he does with everybody else. I mean, Cole is so laid back and so such a nice guy. I mean, even though he's this tank and he is a threat out on the field when he's fighting locusts, when he's with his friends, he's like the nicest guy. And you find this out not even that much in the games, but in the books. You find out how nice and sweet he is. And he's like this like lovable bear that you just want to hug. And he pretty much puts up with all of Baird's crap. Baird could say anything to Cole, and Cole would just be like, oh, Baird. He'll just pat him on the head and tell him he loves him. And Baird finds this weird because everybody either punches him or cusses him out or tells him he's a jerk, and, that they hate him for the things that he says. But Cole never did that. Cole pretty much knew that Baird, even though he was a jerk, like that's he has this attitude and that's just the way he is. He also knew that a lot of the times his mouthing off and his offensive drabble was more because it's his way of releasing stress. It's his way of releasing fear. Like when he's scared, he tends to talk a lot and say crap. There's a scene in the book where he saves Cole, and Cole's like, oh, thank you, I'm so glad you're with me, or whatever. And Baird doesn't admit that he's going with Cole because he wants to. He says, oh, I'm just following you because I want to see if you're afraid of anything. And Cole reads right through that, and he knows that it's pretty much he's following Cole for reassurance because Baird's scared. This is his first time fighting locusts, and he wants to know if everything's going to be okay. And he wants to know if Cole is scared. If Cole is scared, this big dude, this thrash baller, then Baird's got so much more to be afraid of. But every time Cole keeps telling him that it's gonna be okay, baby. And that's what Baird likes about Cole, that really he feels this connection to him, and he really feels like the friendship that they have. Like Cole is Baird's friend unconditionally. Like it doesn't matter how big of a jerk he is. Cole knows that there's still a human there. There's still a human being there, and he's accepted no matter how he is. So that's why Baird is so close to Cole, because they understand each other. And only as the years go by do they get closer and closer and closer. They become brothers, like Marcus and Dom. Baird never wants to admit that he's worried about Cole, but it's very obvious that he is. Sometimes, I mean, one of his passions is submarines. He loves submarines. He's absolutely in love with them. And you find this out in Gears of War 3. It's mentioned in the books, but you find this out in Gears of War 3 as well. Anytime that he gets the option to go into a submarine, he jumps on it. But this one time, he didn't even want to go in a submarine because he was going to be separated from Cole. Cole was going to go on a different mission, and Baird wanted to go with Cole because he feels nervous without him. He feels like something might happen to Cole if he's not there. So he didn't even want to go on the submarine. It's just like, oh. Another time in the books was he had to operate the Hammer of Dawn. Now, the Hammer of Dawn, ever since it was used in the games, in Gears of War 2, when they sunk Jacinto, the Hammer of Dawn kind of stopped working. It didn't work as accurate as it used to, and it had a lot of problems. And the only one that would operate it was Anya. I'm pretty sure it was Anvilgate. Anya is not available. I think she had gotten hurt or something like that. But she wasn't able to operate the Hammer of Dawn, and they had to take down a Leviathan. If you remember the Leviathan, it's that fish thing, that big fish thing in Gears of War 2 that you have to fight. They started to go lambent in the books. So they have to fight this lambent Leviathan in the books. And the only way that they could take it down was to hit it with the Hammer of Dawn. So Baird was the one that had to do it. He was faltering. He didn't really want to do it because he knew that Cole was going to be out there, like very close to the Leviathan. So he was like, he didn't want to do it because he might hurt Cole. And he wasn't so sure about it because he wasn't so sure about himself because he had never operated the Hammer of Dawn. And the Hammer of Dawn was very inaccurate already. But he ended up doing it. And he has been the only person besides Anya that has been able to operate the Hammer of Dawn and actually hit its target. After it was so after it had gotten messed up. So and after that, Baird likes to think that he does a better job than even Anya, which is another aspect of Baird's personality, is that he's extremely proud of himself. He's to the point where he's boastful and egotistical, and he thinks he's better than everyone else. He also operates the Hammer of Dawn for the second time in Gears of War 3 when they're in Anvilgate, where he has to hit the Berserker, I think it was. He hits it like 3 times, I think. And again, the Hammer of Dawn was very inaccurate at that time. So he's been the only one that has been able to operate it besides Anya. He likes anything that is metal or like mechanical or like huge where he could work on and build. So he also expresses his love for big rigs in the books. In Anvilgate, they go to this emulsion rig out in the ocean, and Baird is like so excited. He's like, oh, this is like a masterpiece built in the ocean and blah, blah, blah. And Cole's like, oh, Baird's in love. That's one thing that I love so much about the books. Everything I know about the characters really comes from the books. In the games, you miss out on a lot of things when it comes to the characters. You miss out on a lot of character development. Karen Traviss, the author, is amazing at capturing the essence of the characters. It's really almost like as if she had come up with the characters. That's how well she writes them. And Baird is just one of those characters that I enjoy seeing develop throughout the time, because he's this jerk. In the comics, in one of the comics called Baron, he gets slapped around like crazy for for what he said in that comic, but by Alex Brand. I don't think unless she was in the previous multiplayer modes, I don't think she was, but since I don't really play multiplayer, I don't know, but I know she's going to be in this, in Gears of War Judgment multiplayer. She really tells Baird off in this comic, and it's the comic where she is introduced. There's another scene in that comic that is really cool for Baird as well, because it really shows how smart he is. And not just, because usually you see the sarcastic Baird, the cynical Baird, the jerk Baird, where he's just this annoying little chatterbox in the back, just telling you off or telling you how stupid you are, or or he sometimes tells you about the locust and gives you some information and all that, but he's never really been put into like the position of leader, and where he has to make the big decisions. It's always Marcus. But in that comic, Baron, he has to he's pretty much put into leader position, and he has to come up with a plan, because Marcus is knocked unconscious by a mauler, and everybody else, the team, they have to lock themselves up in this facility, and Marcus is laying down on the ground outside with a mauler and all these locusts, and Dom and Cole try to go back out to help him, but Baird stops him, and he's like, don't. He stops them from going out there, and Dom is pissed. Like, you really see that Dom is pissed, because I mean, that's his brother out there. And but Baird convinces them to stay put, because he starts to analyze the situation, and he is the locust expert. Like in Gears of War 2, you find out that he could translate Cantus scrolls and locust runes. So he knows a lot about the locust. He's the expert on locusts, not just mechanics and explosives and all that. So he starts to analyze the situation outside, and he's like, why aren't they killing Marcus? And the reason that he comes up with is that he says there's either a Cantus or a Theron out there. And the Theron are the locusts that have the torque bows, and the Cantus is that like shaman locust that makes this really nasty sound. The Cantus and the Theron are the most dangerous, because they are the ones that rally the locusts. They're the ones that give instructions. They're the smart ones. So he's like, there's a Theron or a Cantus out there, and it's instructing the locusts to not move. He's like, they're baiting us. Pretty much what they want is for them to go out there and try to save Marcus, and then completely just take them over. And he's like, if it's a Theron, they're gonna torque this place. Like, he's gonna torque the door. I think it ended up being a Cantus. Baird comes up with this crazy idea. He's with these women and children that were in this facility that pretty much the cog, since humans are pretty much going extinct since the locust wars, they started to make these facilities for women where they pretty much just gave birth to babies, and they didn't really treat them very well in these places. A lot of the cog would sometimes just rape them, and they weren't, not all of them, but a lot of them. These were like pretty bad facilities. I mean, if you were a woman, you were going to end up there, unless you had some reason that you couldn't give birth. Like Anya is sterile. She can't give birth, so that's why she's in the cog. And I believe Sam might be too, because unless they don't do this anymore, unless they stopped. But back then, when they were still doing this, like Alex was part of this, I forgot what they call it, but this facility where women just give birth, pretty much. That's all they're for. That's why it's called barren. Alex ends up being barren, and she had been a part of this place for some time. And when they figured out that she had been barren or something like that, she ended up leaving. I don't remember how that story goes, but it's the comic called Baron. The cog end up going there to save these women, to take these women out of there, because it was being infiltrated by locusts. So they had these women and children that they needed to save. So Baird is like, okay, we need to get these guys out of here, and then save Marcus. He was like, right now we can't focus on Marcus because that's a trap. So they dig these tunnels, and they start to escape through there, the women and the children. And Baird records the kids like screaming and crying, and puts them in different areas so that the locusts think that's where they're going, when they're actually going the other way. So he comes up with this awesome plan, and it works. They end up saving Marcus, and fooling the locusts, and they end up saving the women and the children. In Gears of War 2, Baird gets captured by the locusts and is put into one of those capsules that they were putting people in. He was about to be transferred onto the beast barges where they were torturing people like they did with Ty. So you pretty much find him in time before he's taken on board, and they started to torture him. After the lambent start appearing on Vectis, Baird is the one that starts analyzing the lambent to see what they are and all that, because he's fascinated. by them. I'm not sure if it was towards the end of Anvil Gate or the beginning of Coalition's End, or somewhere around there, where Hoffman steals the disc, the Prescott disc. They go into that in Gears of War 3, where they talk about the disc after Prescott dies. The disc where it talked about Azura. Hoffman steals that from Prescott and gives it to Baird so that Baird could crack it and find out what's on it. Hoffman was desperate. He needed to know what was going on with Prescott. He was fed up, and the only one he trusted to do that was Baird. He didn't crack it until Gears of War 3. When they were on Anvil Gate. That's one thing that I was saying that I love about the books and about Gears of War 3, because you get to see how Baird changes, not only throughout the games, but the books. He starts off this jerk, this egotistical bastard that just is constantly offending people and just nagging at you and just like pissing you off all the time. Not you as a player, but like Marcus. He's always like just on Marcus's tail and anybody else that he's talking to. Especially in Gears of War 3, you find out how he's starting to change. Especially towards the end of Gears of War 3. Like when he finds out that Dom died, you could see that broke his heart. He had never shown that kind of emotion in the games. And he shows kindness. And like he's almost attracted to Sam when he does not like people. He doesn't like relationships, especially love relationships. He has been in previous relationships, but they have never worked because of the way he is. He tells Sam to take care of herself. He starts to change in the books. He starts to change ever since this book, Anvil Gate. And in Coalition's End, he starts to make friends. He starts to care more about Bernadette. He starts to care about Hoffman. He starts to care about Dom, about Marcus, about Anya, even about he starts to care about the Gorazny when they join the coalition of governments. And he used to hate the Gorazny because of the pendulum wars. They had been in war with them for years. So he was just like, oh, those frickin' Indies. When they're on Vectis, he becomes friends with one of the Gorazny. So, and he actually cares about them, and one of them ends up dying, getting killed, and he actually is like heartbroken because it's like they killed his friend. And so it's so cool to see that development and that change in Baird, and how he doesn't really like to admit it. Or to show it, but you could totally see it. And even before that, I think in Jacinto's Remnant, the second book, you could already see him starting to care for Bernadette Mataki. When they save her from Jacinto's flooding, she was in the flooding. She hadn't gotten out. When in Gears of War 2, when they're all on the King Ravens, when they're all flying away, the one with Marcus and Baird, they go back. They go back for Bernie. And they save her, and Baird like puts a blanket over her, and Bernie's like like really just like, what? Like really taken back, because that's not Baird's style, to take care of somebody. So yeah, he does change from the person he was in the past. So I think in Gears of War Judgment, we're going to see that classic Baird that we all knew from the beginning, not the Gears of War 3 Baird, that ending Baird where he was kind of caring and kind of like starting to show the other members, not just Cole, that he cared about them. Not that Baird. We're gonna see like the Gears of War 1 Baird, even before then. So I think we're gonna be seeing more classical Baird, the Baird that people that have played the games are more used to. So in Gears of War Judgment, it's during the time when he was in Kilo Squad, which is about a year and a month after he had joined the COG. So he's pretty much fresh into the military during Gears of War Judgment. The thing about Epic and the way that they do things, sometimes they've already said that they don't always go by what the books say. Judgment takes place about a month after E-Day, and he's already in Kilo Squad, so I think that's probably something that they're changing, which is whatever, I don't really care. Because the company that he was in a month after E-Day was Bravo Company. And then a year later, Kilo Squad. I mean, Epic already said that they might, so they're changing the whole Lancer thing, because the Lancer didn't come until way later. Like way later, like way after E-Day. But I think they're going to be having the Lancer in the game already, in Judgment. So that doesn't fit the lore that was already established, but Epic already said, oh well, you know, fun is first. So that's why I'm pretty much not going into like specific stats about when he was in the cog and like specific dates and all that. Some interesting things that you could go and read if you want to are some logs that you find in Gears of War 2 and 3, I believe, of Baird analyzing the Locust and the Lambent, especially when they go into like the Hollow. He has like these little journal writings where he's like, Baird here, and he talks a little bit about what he finds. I'll provide the links in the description. So yeah, the next one I'm going to do is most likely going to be after Judgment is released, because I probably won't have time to film it, or to get the notes and film it and then put it out before tomorrow, obviously. The next one is going to be about Cole. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to have a lot of fun with Gear Talks, because I'm a huge gearhead. I love Gears of War. And I think that there's so much juicy and good stuff in the books that I just feel like I need to share, because a lot of people just don't want to read them. And I'm like, oh, well, that's what I'm here for. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.
I can speak Locust. That means hello. My question is, why did it take me this long to get my own damn game, Marcus? A-hunting we will go, a-hunting we will go. Hi-ho, the grenadier, a-hunting we will go. Hunt down the locust, locust, locust. Look out, look out. Thank you, I'll be here all night. Unless the locusts actually do come, then I won't. It'll suck.